This is a CBC podcast.
Hello, I'm Anna Maria Tremonti. You're listening to The Current. It was just a little over a month ago that Lasantha Wickrematunge was on his way to work in Colombo, the capital of Sri Lanka. Minutes from his office, he was stopped by 4 men on military-style motorcycles. They smashed through the window of his car and severely beat him. He died several hours later. Lasantha Wickrematunge was the high-profile editor of the Sri Lankan newspaper The Sunday Leader. He had a long history of questioning and criticizing the Sri Lankan government. His death sent shockwaves across the country, and it sent other Sri Lankan journalists fleeing for their lives. Many of them had been worried about their safety for some time, and for many of them, his death sent a clear message. They would not be safe in Sri Lanka if they criticized the government and did their work. One of the journalists who fled Sri Lanka was Sonali Samarasinghe Wickrematunge. She is Lasantha Wickrematunge's widow, and a celebrated journalist in her own right, who has earned accolades for exposing corruption in Sri Lanka. She's now living and hiding in an undisclosed location, and she joins us now. Hello.
Hello.
I want to start by telling you that I'm so sorry about the death of your husband. I wonder if you can tell us what happened that day, how you found out.
Yes, he was alerted that he was being followed that morning. Of course, we had some domestic matters to attend to, and we had to go to the chemist. At that time, though we were vigilant, we did not see anyone. However, when we got home and parked the car, we saw 2 helmeted men dressed in black fatigues on a big black motorbike of the kind used by some units of the security forces, and it whizzed past our car. We immediately got inside the house of the security, inside our house, and Lasantha was quite concerned and called several friends to tell them that we were being followed. Of course, Lasantha had twice before been the victim of physical attacks. The newspaper too had twice been attacked and burned down, so he was not the kind of man to be intimidated by this. So when he wrote that he was unbowed and unafraid, he really meant it. However, despite my pleading, he left for work. It was a Thursday. It was the busiest day at the office, and he was preparing for the copy of the Sunday Leader. And it was less than half an hour later that I received a call informing me that he had been attacked and taken to a hospital. I rushed to hospital together with my sister and her husband, who are both doctors. I saw Lasantha lying on a trolley, blood pouring out of his nose and ears. Of course, the government has insisted Lasantha was shot, while the witnesses to the murder and the doctors who treated him, some of the doctors who treated him, say no firearm was involved. So according to eyewitness accounts and to accounts of injuries seen on Lasantha, as described by doctors present in hospital at the time, he was brought in. He seemed to have been viciously attacked with a sharp metal instrument that caused the fracture of his skull and at least left 2 deep wounds in his brain. So witnesses within just a few yards of the incident report hearing no gunshots and no bullets were found either in his head or in the car, and there were no exit wounds in his body. The police know this. They have a description of the murder weapons, yet despite over a month having passed, they have not published a description of the weapon or call for information from the public, except all they have done really is to arrest the people who stole Lasantha's mobile after the murder. And you can guess why the government is so anxious to have that phone, for in it are the records of many of Lasantha's sources.
You married him only 2 months before he was killed.
Yes, that's right.
What were those 2 months like for both of you?
It was perhaps the most carefree and happy that he has ever been, because we happen to in our personal lives we had planned many trips abroad. We had planned to go and meet his parents in Canada, and we were going out more and really sort of giving a lot to our relationship. So it was it was such a big shock for me when this happened.
Mm. And yet you both knew of threats. You are a journalist as well. Describe the kinds of threats you faced doing your work.
We have been threatened by phone messages, by post, letters in the post, or emails. We have also been grilled or questioned by the CID, that's the Criminal Investigations Department, asking us to reveal our sources in our work and in articles that we have written. And also, Lasantha himself was very much under attack. In 1995, he was attacked and caused physical harm. In 1998, his house was fired upon using automatic weapons. In 2000, the Sunday Leader newspaper was sealed under emergency regulations. On January 11, 2006, my husband was personally threatened with physical harm by the president of the country over the telephone. On October 16, 2006, the Sunday Leader presses were set on fire by an armed mob while printing was in progress. In December 2006, an attempt was made to arrest Lasantha without charge, and it was only called off due to diplomatic and civil society pressure. So in the course of the past several years, Lasantha was the victim of physical assault, shooting, and twice we had our presses attacked and burned down.
And how did that affect the way you lived your life, the way you did your work? Did it make you more determined? Did it make you look over your shoulder all the time?
It definitely made us more determined. We did not look over our shoulder. We had lived and worked through the newspaper being set on fire, threats over the phone, the newspaper being sealed under emergency regulations. So my husband several times wrote to the Inspector General of Police to ask for protection. And even after my husband's death, the newspaper itself wrote for protection for the newspaper and its staff. But we never got it. Mind you, there was never a serious police inquiry into any of these attacks, and no one was ever charged.
Who do you blame then for his killing?
Lasantha always felt that if he were to be killed, he would be killed by the government. His was an independent newspaper. We called a spade a spade. We did not hide behind euphemism. We specialized in investigative reporting. When we did so, we were supported by documentary evidence. No one proved us wrong in our exposés, nor have we ever been successfully prosecuted. Thus, we knew that he and our newspaper had become a thorn in the flesh. Week after week, we uncovered stories of corruption and excess. Also, excess in the Defense Ministry procurements. He published stories that went beyond the military propaganda, the stories of civilian misery, of deaths, and often exposed the government's blatant propaganda in the war. Therefore, he did believe that he was a problem to the government. He was an irritant.
And of course, after his death, you published that editorial he had written, predicting that he would be assassinated. So he always knew it was a matter of time.
He always knew it was, he knew it would happen, it was a matter of when, as he said there. And I have to say, the government's complicity in his murder, at least, or the fact that it happened under the government's watch and with so much impunity, it becomes even more evident after his death. The police inquiry has amounted to little more than an amateurish cover-up of the evidence, and perhaps the best evidence of the complicity by the government is the web of lies and innuendo the government has sought to introduce into its cover-up of the crime. On the day of Lasantha's murder, the president went on national television to claim that Lasantha was murdered as a result of an international conspiracy. A few weeks later, the president's brother, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, asked about the investigation in an international forum. A television interview, giggled almost hysterically while asking, who is Lasantha? Why is he so important? He was just someone writing to a tabloid. And this is the man under whom the entire police comes. What is the message you think this sent to the officers inquiring into the murder? Even